Hey guys, it's Lady Raven, the Wild Witch. Sorry I don't have anything in the background yet, but I have not put up all of my tapestries in my new office. So today I've come to you to talk about cold weather magic. And there's a lot of things you can do in the wintertime for all types of spell casting. It's important to think about what are the things that are really going on in the wintertime, and that's really kind of the line that your message is going to follow. The line that your work should follow, right? So think about it. The wintertime, you have very short days, which means the sun is not as strong as it normally is. The sun generally represents the ego, the part of ourselves we put out into the world, how we stand ourselves into the world. It's very external. And so with the sun being at its lowest phase, you want to do all types of work that are going to be internal. So if you want to this is a great time for shadow work. This is a great time to do some work to calm yourself down, to bring down your levels, to freeze certain things that may be driving you a little bit crazy. That's a great time to do that. It is also going to be a time to focus on yourself. Maybe it's a great time for creativity. Anything that happens on the within is a great time to do it in the winter. Why? Because the energy of the planet is helping you along in that process. So it's more than just the cold weather. It's a matter of the energy right now is promoting this type of, just chill out, calm down, that type of energetic work. So let's talk about freezing things. So this is one of the things you can do in this situation. And a lot of times you can do freezing, like somebody is causing a havoc in your life and you're going to put them in the freezer, right? So you put their name in a jar, you stick it in the freezer to just get them to chill out. One of the things you can do when you're doing wintertime magic is you can take advantage of the energy outside. Instead of letting it freeze in your freezer, you pick a particularly cold night, write down what you want to write down that you're trying to freeze, put it in a coffee can or any kind of other metallic can, and I would fill it with maybe some herbs, things like that. Seal it. You can even add a little bit of water. I wouldn't add too much just because it may explode. If you want to add anything else you want to add to it, put everything that you're adding into it and then put it outside and let it freeze overnight outside. Then you're really taking in that planetary energy instead of letting the refrigerator fuel your spell. As it freezes with the natural weather, it's going to let that planetary energy do the work for you. And then in the morning, you can take that jar and you can stick it in your freezer and keep it there as long as you want. Once you're done, you're ready to deal with the situation again. You can pull everything out. You want to make sure that you cleanse the crap out of that jar if you want to keep it. If not, you can toss it. You want to also take everything that's in it and burn it. You want to burn the papers, the herbs, everything that's inside that's burnable inside that jar needs to be burned. Anything that's not burnable, so if you added crystals or anything like that, then you can just cleanse the crap out of it and put it away to use it at another time. So that is one type of freezing magic. And I've seen people do that sometimes, not just to others, but I've seen them do it to themselves in specific. So if you are feeling emotionally overwhelmed and you need to just chill out and you feel that you can't do that on your own, you can put your name in there and say, I want my stress level to go down. Put it overnight, let it freeze, and then keep it in the freezer as long as you need it. And then once you feel that you've calmed down and everything's great, you want to take it out, burn everything, cleanse the jar and all of that. If you're doing a jar that's going to calm yourself down, then you want to include herbs like rose petals and lavender, and you want to make everything that's in there very soft and flowery and scented really well. You can even add a little bit of honey to it, kind of make like a little honey jar mixed in with everything else, just to kind of keep yourself in a good mood and a good, like a sweet spot kind of a situation for yourself. So that's one way that you can use that magic and that spell work from wintertime. Another thing that's very important in the wintertime is going to be bonfires, right? If you look back through the ages, that's what kept us warm through the winter, even back to cavemen, when they finally were able to create a fire, they even would bring it into the cave sometimes to keep the whole cave itself warm. So fires in the wintertime, any type of fire magic is going to be appropriate, because once again, the ego, the fire of the sun, all of that, we don't have a lot of that right now to draw on. So you're going to bring that fire element itself to provide that energy that you may or may not need. So that's going to be also an important component of doing things like that. A lot of work for the hearth. If you want to do some work, you can even do it in your fireplace if you want to, with fire and wood, bringing blessings into your home. You can create these little balls, basically. You can put a little bit of candle wax on either end, and then you can fill the middle of it with herbs, with different things. And I like to call them blessing balls, right? So you can either have, if you are a candle maker and you make candles, you can go ahead and use a candle tube, and you would put some wax on the bottom. You would put all your flowers and everything else in the center, mix it with a little bit of wax or something else, and then put more wax on the top. And then once that's done, you pop it out, you toss it into the fire, and that becomes your blessing sphere. So that's one way that you can do that. Sorry, my door just made a weird noise. I was like, what is going on over there? So that is something that you can do. It's a time for blessing in the home. Another way that you can do that without actually using a fireplace is to do a simmer pot. Simmer pots are powerful magic that leave your home smelling fantastic. And you just put a little pot in the stove. I normally add a little bit of water. I'm going to add some orange slices. I'm going to add some like lavender, cinnamon. Sometimes I add some apple slices, a lot of seasonings. I like to add nutmeg. I like to add clove. And then you can add other things. You can add things like lemon slices. You can add apples if you want to. You can even add honey to it. Mix it all up, make it a big pot, and put it on the stove in low, and just let it simmer and let that scent kind of go throughout your home. It's a great way to raise the energy level. So if you wanted to go through and smudge the crap out of your house and then do a simmer pot afterwards to kind of put some of that positive energy back in, that would be a fantastic idea. So that's some of the things that you can do in the wintertime. I think the wintertime, for me, with the going within, is probably one of the best times to do spiritual work and to connect with either ancestral guides or your spirit guides. So if you don't know who your ancestor guides are or who your spirit guides are, this is a great time to kind of dive into that inner work, right? Not doing work that requires anything outside of yourself. So this is a great time to forge those alliances and really connect to those entities on a very deep level, so that when spring comes, not only are you ready to go, but also you have a team, a spiritual team standing behind you, ready to help push yourself forward. So how would you go about doing that? If you know who your if you know who your spirit guides are, you can offer them a candle. You can offer them some of their favorite things and just give gratitude, and try to spend once a week, spend some time with them. Just light a candle, give an offering, sit in front of your altar, and just talk to them. That's a great way to get started. If you're just now starting an ancestral practice, you want to start a very simple altar. You want to have a white cloth. I mean, some people put other colors in there. I'm a fan of using white for ancestors, just because it keeps everything positive and everything very vibrations are raised, everything is great. So I normally put a white tablecloth, a white candle, an offering bowl, and an incense censer. And so you could start that way, and then don't put anything else. Just go in the first day, you dedicate the altar to your ancestors and say, hey, this is your place, ancestors. It's almost like, imagine if you have a room in your house that your mother is coming to live with you. That is her room, right? So when you create an ancestor altar, that is their room in your house. So it's important that the ancestor altar is always clean. It's important that if you're going to leave any food there for them, that you don't let it sit for too long to where it gets kind of nasty and moldy. So you want to make sure that you take that food out. If you're going to leave food, leave it overnight for 24 hours. Take it out and put it out in nature. That's some of the ways that you can do that. If you're connecting with specific animal spirit guides, or let's say you don't even know who your spirit guides are, you can start asking for a connection. So you would create a separate altar, like a little honoring altar, put a white candle, put a bowl, put some an incense censer, and then say, hey, this is for my spirit guides, and I want to strengthen that relationship. So once again, the same way you would do it with ancestors, you would sit in front of that little altar once a week and say, hey, I want to thank you guys for walking with me, for helping me, for doing all of this work, and tell them what's going on in your life and where you could use help. And then offer also, if I can do something for you if there's something that is important that you need. Because remember, when we're working with spirits, you always want to make sure that you make it a two-way street. So that's always really, really important, is that you're not just constantly asking for something, but you're giving something back in exchange every time that you ask for something. So that's crucial and very, very important. Another type of work that I like to do in the wintertime, other than connecting with ancestors and your spiritual team and all of that and everything that we talked already about before, is always going to be some type of releasing and grounding excess energy from the previous year, from all of the issues you've had. If we are following... God, did you guys hear that? That's my door. It's like it's really windy and it keeps making that weird sound. But sorry about that. If you are doing some work to release things from the year before, right? So if you have had a difficult previous year, a lot of times this is not something that, flip of a switch where you go like, hey, I'm done, right? January 1st came, last year's over. That's it. I'm moving on. Normally it doesn't happen that way. You keep thinking about things, there's remorse and there's regret for things that didn't work out. A lot of times we try to second guess ourselves. Well, if I would have done this, or if I would have done that, or if I had been more this or more that, or less this or less that, then things would have worked out great, right? So there's no use to beat yourself up in that way. So wintertime magic, so January, February, even parts of March, maybe up till mid-March, is a great time to just release and ground all of that. Freeze all of those feelings, give them back to Mother Earth and say, you know what, in the spring, that energy is going to be transmuted into something positive, and it's going to come back to me in that positive manner. So taking care of yourself is very, very important. Get yourself in check so that you, when the spring comes and the work begins, that you have the time and the energy, and that you are in a good place to get that work started and get that work moving forward for yourself. So those are some of the things that you can do on wintertime magic. So hello, Brenda. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate that. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and type them out, and I will be more than happy to answer them. I'm going to keep going, though, because I have a couple of other things to share with you guys about wintertime magic. The other thing that you can do, keep thinking about how weather plays such an effect and such an impact on us, right? So being outside right now is very cold, very uncomfortable. It's not a happy time to be outside. So everything that you're going to bring inside, inner, not just inner work, but work inside the home, right? Because this is where the energy is right now. It's all in the home. So cooking magic is huge during winter time. So if you're making soups, if you're making breads, I love to make blessing bread in the wintertime, because it's a type, you can just make your favorite bread recipe. If you have a bread maker, you can do it there. If not, you can just, I don't have a bread maker anymore. I got rid of it. And I make mine in my big KitchenAid mixer. And then I just let it rise and then bake it. But you can add herbs, you can add all kinds of things to it. And then as you're creating it, make sure your intent is really focused on it. And you're adding all this positive energy, all of these blessings. And you can make it for yourself and you can make it for others. To say, hey, as we eat this bread, this energy, this blessing energy, this positive energy, we're going to be taking all of this into ourselves. So if you have a situation in your family where you maybe have a sick loved one that either needs some bread or needs chicken noodle soup for somebody who's sick, this is a great time to put that into practice, right? As you cook the meal, whatever it is that you're cooking, you're putting in all of that positive, that love, that blessing, that desire to make everything better. You're putting all of that into your food as you cook it. And then once it's ready, whoever's going to eat it is going to take all of those blessings in. So that's a great time to do all types of kitchen witchery. Wintertime is the best time, hands down, to do any of that. And finally, another magic that I like to do is self-care. So self-care magic in the wintertime is crucial. Why? Because this tends to be a time of downtime, right? Especially now that we are done with the holidays, we're done with the insanity that happened. You have 2.5 months now where you can sit back and just go and just relax and just be, just chill out. You don't have to do anything else. So this is a great time to dig deep and get that energy back. Give yourself a facial. You can even do it once a week. Give yourself, a nice bubble bath. Then you do a facial for yourself. Then you can maybe turn your shower really hot and go sit in there almost like as if it were a steam. Don't sit into the water, but you can just sit away from the water and let that steam kind of hit your pores and everything. There's so many great things that you can do for self-care in the wintertime that is going to really help to boost your confidence and how you see yourself. And the goal of all of this, once again, is so that once springtime hits, you are ready to go, to hit the ground running. You feel recharged, you feel good, everything is ready to go. So that's really going to be a critical part for getting a lot of this wintertime magic going. So think about inner work. Think about things that need to be grounded, things that need to be frozen, things that need to be just chill. This is the perfect time for that. Any kind of work about blessing the home or working within home and hearth energies, that's very important. Any type of kitchen witchery, kitchen magic, very, very important, and can be very, very good, especially if you have somebody sick that you're helping to work with. And then finally, lastly, the last thing is some self-care. So you put all of those together, that gives you a lot of work that you can be doing for yourself and for your family during the winter time. And I know it's a time where normally people feel like, it's cold, it's chilly, I don't want to do it, but you can do that even if you're just making, let's say, you and your family are going to watch a movie, you're going to make some hot cocoa. You can, as you're doing that, anytime you do that, just remember to put that positive, loving, nurturing energy into your food, because as you're doing self-care for yourself, it helps to self-care everybody around you, everybody else that is in your family at that moment. So I hope that this was helpful. Just to kind of talk about a few things that are going to be coming in over the next few weeks. Don't forget that in the first, I think it's going to be let's see here. I will tell you that in about 1 second. So it's going to be 4, 5, 6. February 6th, we are going to have our free chakra balancing that we do once a month. So that's going to take place. Once again, it's going to be at night. I'm starting to do these at night more so than during the day. So I hope to see everybody there. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today and for listening. And I hope that some of these tips are very helpful for you as you embark on some wintertime work. All right, take care. Bye-bye.